It was an unusually warm spring afternoon in the small suburban town of Brooksville, a quiet community where neighbors often greeted each other by name, and children played safely on tree-lined streets. Officer Ramirez, a seasoned police officer, with more than a decade on the force, was patrolling the neighborhood with his loyal partner, Rex, a large, black and tan German Shepherd trained extensively in narcotics detection and search and rescue operations. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was a remarkable canine with a reputation for being sharp, intuitive, and fiercely protective. The patrol started as usual, with the two officers driving slowly along the familiar streets, keeping an eye out for anything unusual. Officer Ramirez often relied on Rex's instincts. After all, the dog had been trained to detect the faintest scent of drugs or danger that a human nose could never catch. Today, however, something felt different. As they rounded the corner onto Maple Street, Rex suddenly stiffened. His ears perked up sharply, and his body became tense. Without warning, he began barking, loud, sharp, and insistent, at a parked school bus sitting near the curb. The bus had been stationary for an unusually long time, its bright yellow paint slightly faded, but still unmistakably a symbol of childhood and safety. Officer Ramirez pulled over, watching Rex with growing curiosity. It wasn't like the dog to bark without cause. Rex's nose twitched, and he pawed at the ground, focusing intently on the bus. The barking continued, urgent but controlled, as if the dog was trying to send a clear message. Something was wrong. Bus, an old model usually reserved for transporting students from the nearby elementary school, had no visible driver inside, nor were any children nearby. It was unusual for it to be parked here for this long. The bus route was well known, and it was rare for a bus to stay idle for hours without reason. Neighbors noticed too. Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman watering her garden across the street, frowned as she watched the bus. "That bus has been there since morning," she muttered to herself, clutching her gardening gloves. "Something doesn't feel right." Officer Ramirez, trusting Rex's instincts, decided to investigate. He radioed the dispatch to notify the station about the strange situation and requested backup, just in case. He knew from experience that when Rex acted like this, it was rarely a false alarm. Canine Rex circled the bus, his nose low to the ground, sniffing carefully around the tires and the undercarriage. Officer Ramirez watched closely, noting every detail. The bus windows were tinted darker than usual, almost obscuring the inside, which made the whole scene more suspicious. Why would a school bus have such dark windows? And why was it parked in a quiet residential area for so long, unattended? Minutes passed, and the barking continued. Rex was clearly agitated, pacing along the bus, his eyes alert and fixed on a particular section near the driver's door. Officer Ramirez knew this was a signal. The dog had detected a scent or presence that wasn't right. Nearby, a few curious neighbors began to gather, whispering nervously among themselves. Children playing a few blocks away stopped and looked toward the bus, sensing something unusual in the air. The normally carefree afternoon now carried a tension that could not be ignored. That the officer approached the bus carefully, knocking lightly on the door. No response. The engine was off, and there were no visible signs of anyone inside. He called out, but the silence remained. It was as if the bus had been abandoned, but the way Rex was reacting told a different story. Officer Ramirez stepped back and knelt beside Rex, placing a reassuring hand on the dog's head. "Good boy, Rex," he said softly. "You're onto something." He felt a mix of apprehension and determination. Whatever was happening here, it was serious. With his radio, Ramirez called for additional units, requesting a thorough search of the bus and the surrounding area. He knew that sometimes criminals used unexpected vehicles to hide illegal items, And a school bus was the last thing anyone would suspect. The irony wasn't lost on him. A vehicle meant to protect and transport children being used for something dangerous. As he waited for backup, Ramirez kept his eyes on the bus and Rex. The dog's ears twitched with every passing second, and his tail, though wagging slightly, was held stiffly. Rex was ready, alert, brave, and determined to protect the community he served. Officer Ramirez knew that this was just the beginning of a story far bigger than a quiet afternoon patrol. Rex's barking was a warning, and whatever lay inside, that school bus was about to change their lives, and the lives of everyone in Brooksville, forever. The school bus sat silently by the curb, its familiar yellow frame blending strangely into the calm suburban street. Normally, this bus was a beacon of routine shuttling children to and from school, laughter spilling from its windows, backpacks bouncing on seats. But today, the bus was eerily still. No engine humming, no chatter, no movement. It was as if it had forgotten its purpose. For residents of Maple Street, the bus's prolonged presence was unusual enough to spark curiosity and quiet unease. Word spread quickly among the neighbors. Mrs. Jenkins, who had been watering her tulips when she first noticed the bus, was among the first to share her concerns. "I've lived here for over 20 years, she told a few nearby neighbors, "and I've never seen a school bus just sit like this for so long." Others nodded silently, their faces showing a mix of suspicion and worry. Parents who usually waved their kids off to school grew anxious. Why was the bus not on its route? Why hadn't anyone seen the driver? Most troubling was the fact that no one seemed to know why it was there or what was inside. The neighborhood, once peaceful and predictable, now felt cloaked in a tense silence. Officer Ramirez returned to the scene after his initial patrol, keeping a close eye on the bus while waiting for backup. His partner, Rex, remained alert, pacing and sniffing around the vehicle. The dog's behavior was anything but random. Canine South, like Rex, were trained to detect drugs, explosives, and even hidden human scents. His barking was not mere noise. It was a signal that something wasn't right. A small crowd had started to gather, their voices hushed. Most of them kept a respectful distance, watching as the police prepared to investigate. Children peeked out from behind their parents' legs, curious but cautious. The bus was supposed to be safe, a place of learning and care. The thought that it could be connected to danger was unsettling. As officers secured the area, they began checking the bus's registration and ownership details on the spot. The record showed the bus belonged to a local school district, but the driver assigned to the route was nowhere to be found. Attempts to reach him on his phone went unanswered. The dispatcher confirmed that no other vehicles or personnel had reported any problems or delays. The fact that the bus had remained parked for several hours without anyone noticing raised more questions. It was not normal for a school bus to idle this long without supervision, especially in a residential zone. Some speculated it might have broken down, but there were no obvious mechanical issues, and the bus was locked tight. Meanwhile, Rex's sharp nose continued to work overtime. He lingered near the bus's rear door, sniffing intensely. Officer Ramirez watched as the dog's breathing quickened, tail stiffening in anticipation. The canine's instincts were guiding the officers towards something hidden, something they human eye couldn't see. Nearby, a couple of residents expressed their concerns to one of the officers. Mrs. Patel, a mother of two, spoke quietly but firmly. "This bus is supposed to be safe for our kids," she said. "If something is wrong, we need to know now. We can't take any chances." Officer Ramirez nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He knew the community trusted the police to protect them, especially the children. This bus, with its bright yellow paint and familiar logo, was supposed to symbolize safety, not suspicion. as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the quiet street. The officers prepared for a more thorough inspection. The backup units had arrived, bringing with them specialized equipment and more K-9 teams. A decision was made to conduct a detailed search. Starting with the interior of the bus, the neighbors watched closely as the officers methodically went through the process. Every inch of the bus was examined, from the driver's seat and passenger area to the hidden compartments Rex seemed to have detected. The tension in the air was palpable, and every small noise or movement caught the attention of onlookers. In the midst of all this, a young boy named Tommy tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Mom, why is the dog barking at the bus?" he asked, wide-eyed. His mother gave a reassuring smile, but couldn't hide her own nervousness. "The dog is helping the police keep us safe," she whispered. "That's all you need to know." Unbeknownst to the community, the school bus was about to reveal secrets far darker than anyone had imagined. What was inside could change their quiet town forever. And it was all thanks to the sharp instincts of one vigilant K-9 and the dedicated officers standing watch. The flashing lights of police cruisers reflected off the faded yellow paint of the parked school bus, breaking the peaceful stillness of Maple Street. As backup arrived, the neighborhood's curiosity grew into a palpable tension. Officer Ramirez and Rex were no longer alone. A team of officers gathered, each prepared to act with precision and caution. The sense of urgency was clear. This was not just another routine check. Something about the bus had set off alarms, and now it was time to find out what. Officer Martinez, the lead investigator, quickly took charge. "All right, team," she said firmly, her voice steady but commanding. "Let's approach this carefully. The bus is locked down tight, and we don't know what we're walking into. Rex has given us a warning. Stay alert." The officers nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. Rex remained at Officer Ramirez's side, his tail stiff, eyes scanning every inch of the bus. His barks had drawn attention, but now he was silent, sensing the gravity of what was about to unfold. His role was far from over. If there was danger inside, Rex would be the first to know. Using specialized tools, the officers carefully inspected the exterior of the bus. Windows were tinted darker than standard school buses, almost opaque. The rear emergency exit door was securely locked, as were the passenger doors. The driver's side window was cracked open slightly, but there was no sign of anyone inside. Officer Martinez motioned to a team member to use a portable thermal scanner to check inside the bus. The screen flickered as the device scanned the interior. No heat signatures indicated no one was inside, but that didn't ease their concerns. The bus could still be hiding something far more dangerous than a person. The officers divided into teams. Some began to examine the underside of the bus for any signs of tampering or hidden compartments, while others focused on the interior. Officer Ramirez, with Rex leading the way, took point on entering the bus once the doors were unlocked. The quiet hum of their radios and the creak of the bus doors, breaking the silence, made the neighborhood watchers hold their breath. As the door swung open, a faint chemical smell wafted out. Officer Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "Stay sharp," he whispered, stepping inside cautiously. Inside, the bus was dimly lit, the windows barely allowing any sunlight in. Rows of empty seats stretched back, usually filled with children's laughter and chatter, now silent and foreboding. Officer Ramirez scanned the aisle, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. Rex moved swiftly, sniffing the seats and floor. His nose pulled him toward the rear, where he stopped abruptly in front of a panel near the back exit door. He scratched at it, barking softly but urgently. "Looks like we've got a hidden compartment here," Officer Ramirez said, signaling to Officer Martinez. The panel was thick and seemed out of place, unlike the usual bus construction. With tools in hand, the officers began carefully prying. It opened. The suspense was tangible. The neighbors watching from across the street exchanged worried glances, sensing something big was unfolding. Behind the panel, they found bags, large, heavy, and wrapped tightly in plastic. The chemical smell grew stronger. Officer Martinez's face tightened as she pulled one bag free. "This is no ordinary cargo," she said grimly, signaling the forensic team to collect samples. As more bags were uncovered, the reality became clear. The bus was being used to transport illegal substances. The officers carefully cataloged everything, ensuring no evidence was disturbed. Rex continued to scan the bus, ensuring there were no other hidden areas or threats. Back outside, the community's murmur grew louder. Phones appeared, capturing footage. Calls were made to news stations, and whispers about what could be inside the bus spread rapidly. The school bus, once a symbol of innocence, had turned into the center of a criminal investigation. Officer Ramirez stood near Rex, feeling a mix of relief and concern. The dog's instincts had been right. Something dangerous was inside. But the magnitude of the discovery was larger than either had anticipated. This wasn't just a local problem. It was part of something much bigger. The officers expanded their search, checking every corner, every possible hiding spot. They found no people, but the quantity of illegal substances was alarming. This was a major haul, and the implications for public safety were severe. As the sun set, casting long shadows over Maple Street, the police secured the bus and the evidence. An investigation was already underway to trace the source and destination of the drugs. For the community, the shocking truth was sinking in. Their safe streets had been infiltrated by crime in the most unexpected way. And at the heart of it all, Rex, the canine who barked at a school bus parked too long, had saved them from a threat they never saw coming. As the officers carefully pried open the hidden panel at the back of the bus, the air thickened with tension. What lay beyond the wooden barrier was unlike anything they had expected to find in a vehicle meant to transport children to school. One by one, tightly wrapped bundles emerged, heavy, dense packages concealed in layers of plastic and tape. The unmistakable, pungent smell of chemicals and drugs filled the cramped space, turning the bus from a symbol of innocence into a scene of shocking criminal activity. Officer Martinez, experienced in narcotics investigations, immediately recognized the packaging. "This is heroin," she said quietly but firmly, holding one of the bags up to the light. "And cocaine, too." The sheer volume of the stash was staggering. Dozens of these bundles stuffed neatly into the compartment. It was clear the bus was no ordinary vehicle. It was a moving warehouse for illegal drugs, disguised beneath the innocent facade of yellow paint and child-sized seats. The officers exchanged grim looks. For the residents of Brooksville, the discovery was devastating. Their peaceful neighborhood had become the unsuspecting stage for a major drug operation. The bus they trusted to safely ferry children now harbored poison and danger, threatening lives in ways they never imagined. As the forensic team arrived, carefully photographing and cataloging the evidence, Officer Ramirez stood near Rex, feeling a mixture of pride and sadness. Rex's sharp nose had uncovered this hidden threat before it could be transported further into communities. The dog's bark had been a crucial warning signal, one that saved countless lives. In the quiet streets surrounding the bus, neighbors watched with wide eyes and hushed whispers. Parents clutched their children a little tighter, grappling with the harsh reality that criminals had exploited a trusted symbol of safety. How could this happen? Mrs. Jenkins murmured to a neighbor. "Right under our noses, in our own neighborhood." The discovery sparked immediate action. Police secured the bus and its dangerous cargo, calling in drug enforcement specialists to assist with the investigation. News crews began to gather, their cameras capturing the surreal scene. A school bus, once a vessel of learning and laughter, now surrounded by flashing lights and crime scene tape. Officer Martinez explained to the gathered press that the quantity of drugs found was significant enough to have a major impact on the city's drug trade. This was a sophisticated operation. She said, they used a vehicle that communities trust to avoid suspicion and detection. We are grateful to our K-9 units for helping us uncover this. Inside the bus, officers continued their search, looking for additional compartments or hidden spaces. The design of the bus had been altered, with false panels and reinforced sections to hold the drugs securely. It was clear that whoever orchestrated this scheme had gone to great lengths to avoid detection. The investigation team began piecing together how the bus ended up parked in Brooksville for so long. Was it a drop-off point? A temporary storage location? The officers worked quickly to secure the evidence and gather any clues that could lead to those responsible. Back on the street, Rex lay quietly by Officer Ramirez's feet, his work done for the moment. Though tired, the dog's eyes remained alert, sensing the ongoing tension around him. He had been trained to protect and serve, and today he had done exactly that, uncovering a hidden danger that could have devastated countless lives. The community's reaction was immediate and intense. Parents called for answers. School officials demanded increased security, and local leaders promised swift action. The discovery shook the town to its core, reminding everyone that vigilance was essential, even in the most familiar places. As night fell over Brooksville, the police secured the area, and the bus was towed away for further investigation. The drugs were carefully transported to a forensic lab for testing and evidence processing. Authorities knew this bust was just the beginning. It would lead to arrests, trials, and hopefully, the dismantling of the criminal network behind it. For Officer Ramirez, Rex, and the entire police force, this moment was a victory born from keen instincts, teamwork, and unwavering dedication. What started as a dog barking at a parked school bus had turned into a nationwide story of vigilance, courage, and the unexpected heroes who keep communities safe. The story of the bus, the drugs, and the K-9's bark would soon ripple far beyond Brooksville, sparking conversations about security, trust, and the unseen battles fought every day to protect innocent lives. The news of the drug-filled school bus spread through Brooksville like wildfire. From local coffee shops to front porches, the conversation was dominated by shock, fear, and a desperate search for answers. The community that once felt safe and close-knit suddenly faced an unsettling truth. Their quiet neighborhood had been used as a staging ground for a dangerous drug operation. Parents were the most affected. Many had sent their children on that very bus, trusting it to carry them safely to school and back. Now, the thought of the bus harboring heroin and cocaine sent chills down their spines. Mothers and fathers gathered at the school, anxious and tearful, demanding to know how this could happen under their watch. At the same time, there was a powerful sense of unity emerging. Brooksville's residents, though frightened, were determined not to let fear divide them. Community meetings were organized in the local church hall, where neighbors came together to discuss the implications of the discovery and ways to protect their children in streets. Officer Ramirez and Rex were invited to speak at one of these gatherings. The room was packed, filled with parents, teachers, and local officials. As Ramirez recounted the day's events, the crowd listened intently, hanging on every word about Rex's crucial role in uncovering the drugs. The dog's instincts were spot on, Ramirez explained. Rex's barking helped us find something dangerous before it reached anyone else. It's a reminder that we all need to stay vigilant. Our safety depends on it. The community's response was emotional and heartfelt. Many expressed gratitude to the police, and especially to Rex, whose keen senses had prevented a potential disaster. Children, too young to fully grasp the situation, were comforted by the presence of the police officers and their canine hero, who became a symbol of safety and courage. Yet the fear lingered. Parents worried about the possibility that other dangerous items might be hidden in plain sight. Questions filled the air. How many more vehicles or locations could be used this way? Were there people in their town involved in the drug trade? Could their children ever truly be safe again? Local leaders responded swiftly. The school district announced increased security measures, including stricter vehicle inspections and enhanced monitoring of bus routes. Neighborhood watch programs were strengthened, with more volunteers patrolling the streets and reporting suspicious activity. The police department promised to remain visible and proactive, working closely with residents to restore peace of mind. Brooksville's mayor, appearing on local television, addressed the community with a message of reassurance. "We will not let this incident define us," she said firmly. "Our town is strong, and together we will ensure the safety of our children and neighborhoods." This event has shown us the importance of vigilance and community cooperation. The incident also sparked broader conversations beyond Brooksville. Nearby towns began reviewing their own school transportation security. Police departments across the region increased canine patrols and vehicle inspections. The story of the bus had become a wake-up call, inspiring changes that reached far beyond one quiet street. Meanwhile, for Officer Ramirez and Rex, the days following the discovery were a whirlwind. They continued to work with investigators, helping piece together the drug network's operations. Their partnership was stronger than ever, a perfect example of the bond between a handler and a canine, built on trust and teamwork. Rex's fame grew beyond the police force. Social media shared pictures of the heroic dog, and local news featured stories highlighting his vital role. For many in Brooksville, Rex became a beloved figure, a reminder that sometimes heroes come with paws and a keen nose. But behind the praise, Officer Ramirez remained focused on the job. He knew this bust was just one victory in a much larger fight. Drug trafficking was a complex and persistent threat, and the criminals behind the operation were still out there, somewhere, planning their next move. As the community healed and strengthened its defenses, the story of the barking canine and the suspicious school bus remained etched in their memories. It was a story of fear transformed into hope, a testament to vigilance, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of a community united against danger. As the dust settled in Brooksville, a larger, more complex investigation took shape. The drug-filled school bus was only the beginning, a crucial clue in uncovering a sophisticated criminal network. Law enforcement agencies from multiple jurisdictions joined forces, determined to trace the origins of the illegal cargo and bring those responsible to justice. At the heart of this investigation was Officer Ramirez, alongside federal agents and specialized narcotics detectives. The bus was transported to a secure evidence facility where forensic experts began their painstaking analysis. Every detail mattered, from fingerprints on the packaging to fiber samples inside the hidden compartments. First breakthrough came from the serial numbers on some of the packages. These codes weren't random. They linked the shipments to a major drug cartel operating out of a neighboring state. The cartel had long evaded authorities through elaborate smuggling routes and clever disguises. But the discovery in Brooksville offered a rare crack in their armor. Investigators pieced together a timeline. The bus, originally used on a legitimate school route, had been stolen weeks earlier. During that time, the vehicle had been repainted, modified, and loaded with narcotics before being driven into Brooksville. The plan was likely to use the bus as a temporary drop point, concealed in plain sight, before transferring the drugs to smaller vehicles for distribution. Officer Ramirez and his team interviewed witnesses and reviewed surveillance footage from the area. Cameras along the main roads captured the bus traveling at unusual times, often accompanied by suspicious cars. The footage revealed several unknown individuals near the bus people who seemed to be monitoring its movements. Meanwhile, federal agents focused on tracking the financial transactions linked to the cartel. Money laundering schemes and offshore accounts hinted at a sprawling operation, far larger than anyone had imagined. The investigation was no longer just about one bus. It was about dismantling an entire drug trafficking network. Back in Brooksville, community members remained vigilant. The local police increased patrols and encouraged residents to report anything unusual. Tips came in, some leading to small arrests, others offering pieces of the bigger puzzle. It was clear the cartel had tentacles reaching into multiple towns, exploiting everyday vehicles and locations to mask their activities. Officer Ramirez found himself working long hours, coordinating with teams across states. Rex remained by his side, a steadfast partner in the relentless pursuit of justice. The dog's acute senses were invaluable, not only in fieldwork, but in identifying scents on evidence and tracing routes that human eyes might miss. The investigation also uncovered troubling connections. Some local individuals, previously unsuspected, were implicated as couriers or informants. This revelation shook the community. Again, criminal elements had quietly embedded themselves within the town, capitalizing on its trust and calm. Federal prosecutors prepared for a series of raids targeting the cartel's safe houses, warehouses, and financial centers. Arrest warrants were issued for key players in the operation, many of whom had managed to evade law enforcement for years. The sting was ready to unfold. As the investigation progressed, media outlets followed the story closely. The public's fascination grew, not just with the audacity of using a school bus for drug smuggling, but with the determination of the police and K-9 units to fight back. Officer Ramirez and Rex became symbols of resilience and hope, inspiring many to support law enforcement's efforts. Yet beneath the headlines, the work remained grueling. Each lead had to be verified, every suspect's background thoroughly checked, and all evidence meticulously catalogued. The complexity of the cartel's operations required patience and precision. Mistakes could let dangerous criminals slip through the cracks. Officer Ramirez often reflected on how a simple act, Rex barking at a bus parked too long, had ignited an investigation with nationwide impact. The dog's alertness had saved lives and disrupted a major drug pipeline, proving that sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference. As the team prepared for the next phase, executing coordinated raids and making arrests, the tension grew. There was hope, but also caution. The cartel was dangerous, and retaliation was a real threat. Still, the community's faith in their protectors remained strong. Brooksville had been shaken, but it was not broken. The lessons learned and the bonds forged in the wake of the bus discovery would endure. And through it all, Officer Ramirez and Rex stood ready partners in a fight far bigger than either had ever imagined, united by a mission to keep their world safe. The day of the raid dawned with a tense electric energy. Months of investigation had led to this critical moment. Law enforcement was ready to strike at the heart of the drug cartel that had used a school bus to smuggle deadly narcotics through Brooksville. Officer Ramirez and Rex were on the front lines, prepared to face whatever danger awaited. Before first light, a convoy of police vehicles and federal agents moved quietly but swiftly through the quiet streets of several cities identified as cartel strongholds. The operation was meticulously coordinated, with teams targeting multiple locations simultaneously to prevent suspects from escaping or destroying evidence. Officer Ramirez felt a surge of adrenaline as he checked his gear and glanced at Rex, who wagged his tail but remained focused and alert. Rex had been instrumental throughout the investigation, And today, his instincts would be critical. Once again, at the first target, a warehouse on the outskirts of the city, officers moved in with precision. Flashbang grenades exploded near the entrance, disorienting those inside. The cartel members, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, but found themselves quickly surrounded. Inside the warehouse, the officers discovered a trove of illegal drugs, weapons, and cash. Evidence linked this location directly to the school bus operation, confirming suspicions about the cartel's vast distribution network. More importantly, several key figures in the cartel were arrested, including the elusive regional leader, whose identity had long been a mystery. In another part of the city, a raid on a luxury home revealed more incriminating evidence: ledgers documenting drug shipments, communications intercepts, and photos of smuggling routes. Agents arrested the homeowner, a known associate believed to be the financial mastermind behind the operation. Throughout the raids, Rex played a vital role. His keen nose helped detect hidden compartments and concealed packages, leading officers to critical evidence that might otherwise have been missed. His presence was reassuring to the team, a symbol of their combined strength. Back in Brooksville, the community watched the unfolding events with a mix of relief and pride. Local news broadcasted live updates, showing officers hauling bags of confiscated narcotics and placing suspects in handcuffs. For many, it was a moment of justice after months of fear and uncertainty. Officer Ramirez received a call from the lead federal prosecutor, confirming the arrests were the beginning of a wider crackdown. "This network is big, but we've hit them where it hurts," she said. "With this evidence, we're building a strong case to put them behind bars for a long time." The suspects were transported to secure detention centers, where they faced intense questioning. The hope was that some would cooperate, providing information on higher-ups still at large. Investigators knew the cartel's reach was extensive, but today was a decisive step toward dismantling it. As the raids concluded, Officer Ramirez reflected on how far the investigation had come. What began with a dog's bark at a suspicious school bus had blossomed into a major victory for law enforcement. Rex, exhausted but proud, received a well-deserved round of applause from the team. In the days that followed, court proceedings began. Charges ranged from drug trafficking and money laundering to conspiracy and possession of illegal firearms. The arrests sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld, signaling a powerful message. No operation was too clever to evade justice. Brooksville's mayor held a press conference, thanking law enforcement for their dedication and promising continued support for community safety programs. "Today, we reclaim our streets," she declared. "This victory belongs to every resident who stood together, reported suspicious activity, and never lost hope." The story of the school bus and the K9 who uncovered the drugs continued to inspire. Rex became a local hero, receiving honors for his bravery and sharp instincts. For Officer Ramirez, the bond with his partner had never been stronger a partnership that had saved countless lives and brought dangerous criminals to justice. Yet, amid the celebrations, the team remained vigilant. They knew drug trafficking was a persistent threat, constantly evolving and adapting. The fight was far from over, but today marked a milestone, a turning point in the battle for safety and peace. As the sun set over Brooksville, Officer Ramirez and Rex returned to their patrol car, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey had been long and arduous, but justice was within reach, thanks to the courage, determination, and the sharp bark of a vigilant K9. The arrests and raids marked a pivotal victory, but the story of the drug-filled school bus and the courageous K9 that uncovered it continued to shape the lives of Brooksville's residents long after the headlines faded. The aftermath rippled through the community, forging lasting change, healing, and a renewed commitment to safety. In the weeks following the bust, the courthouse became the center of attention. The high-profile trial drew media from across the country, shining a spotlight on the dangerous drug cartel that had tried to infiltrate innocent neighborhoods. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence gathered from the investigation, including testimonies from officers, intercepted communications, and Rex's crucial role in sniffing out the drugs. The defendants faced stiff sentences, several key cartel leaders received decades in federal prison, their empire shattered by the relentless efforts of law enforcement. For many in Brooksville, justice was more than a word, it was a promise kept. But the true victory lay not only in the courtroom, but in the community's spirit. Residents rallied around renewed neighborhood watch programs, volunteering to keep an eye out for suspicious activity. Local schools implemented safety workshops, teaching children and parents how to recognize and report potential dangers. These programs were designed to empower the community, turning fear into proactive protection. Officer Ramirez continued to serve as a pillar of this transformation. He and Rex became regular visitors at schools and community events, sharing their story and inspiring young and old alike. Rex's presence soothed children, many of whom saw the dog as a guardian and friend. Ramirez emphasized the importance of vigilance, responsibility, and teamwork in maintaining safety. The school district also upgraded its transportation protocols. New security measures included random canine inspections, GPS tracking of buses, and stricter background checks for drivers and staff. The discovery of drugs hidden in a school bus had exposed a serious vulnerability, but Brooksville refused to be defined by it. Instead, they turned the experience into an opportunity to safeguard the future. Local leaders made it a priority to support law enforcement with better resources and funding. The police department expanded its K-9 unit, hiring more handlers and training additional dogs to assist in drug detection and community policing. Rex's success had proven the invaluable role of K-9 teams, and the city was determined to build on that foundation. In the wider region, other towns took notice. The story sparked discussions about school bus safety nationwide. Lawmakers proposed new regulations requiring stricter inspections and enhanced security training for transportation staff. The ripple effect of one dog's bark and one community's courage had reached far beyond Brooksville. Meanwhile, Officer Ramirez reflected often on the journey. He recalled the moment Rex first barked at that seemingly ordinary bus parked too long at the corner. It had been a small signal with monumental consequences, leading to the exposure of a dangerous criminal operation and saving countless lives. Rex, now a celebrated veteran K-9, enjoyed a well-earned retirement with Ramirez. They spent quieter days visiting schools and community centers, their story a reminder that courage and vigilance could come from the most unexpected places. For Brooksville, life gradually returned to a peaceful rhythm, but the lessons learned endured. The community's bond had grown stronger through adversity, united by shared vigilance and a commitment to protect its most vulnerable. The story of the bus, the bark, and the bravery became a legend, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of ordinary people and animals to make an extraordinary difference. In the end, what started as a K-9's alert bark transformed a frightened town into a beacon of safety and unity. Brooksville would never forget the day a school bus, parked too long, revealed a hidden threat and the dog who answered with a bark that shook a nation.